Hi everyone, this is Rabbi Eli. Welcome back to a special Erev Pesach episode of Storytime with Tribe. I'm delighted that you've joined us. How's everything at your house today? Pretty busy, huh? What? You prepared the maror? Now that's brave. You certainly deserve a little break. So come sit with us and let's enjoy a Pesach tale. I heard this story from a man called Nisan Mindel, and because this is the Hebrew month of Nisan, I thought it would be a perfect one to tell. Now, can you imagine? Actually, that's a silly question. All right, I'll ask it anyway. Can you imagine a Pesach Seder without wine? What? Impossible, I hear you shout. I can hear you coming through the screen. Because, of course, we must have 4 cups of wine at our Pesach Seder. But once upon a time in a faraway land, there were some Jewish people who were not allowed to drink wine at their Seder. And that is what our story is about. There was a king who wasn't unfriendly to the Jews. In fact, one of his best friends was the rabbi of the community. He so enjoyed chatting to the rabbi. He valued his advice, and whenever the king had a problem, he would seek the rabbi's counsel and always show how much he appreciated his wisdom. All would have been well, except for the fact that the king had a prime minister who was very, very jealous of how much the king liked the Jewish people, especially this relationship between the king and the rabbi of the community. And so one day, the prime minister approached the king. Of course, as he went to the king, he dressed in his very special, favorite, and treasured red prime minister's hat. Your Royal Highness, I have something to tell you. Do excuse me. You know that rabbi of the community? Yes, I know him very well, replied the king. He is a masterful person, so wise and knowledgeable. I always enjoy talking to him. Yes, that's exactly what I want to speak to you about, Your Royal Highness. Excuse me again. You see, I don't understand really why you enjoy your conversations with the rabbi. I hear what you're saying about his wisdom, but I want to tell you, it's not what it seems. The rabbi appears to be friendly to you. He appears to have all the answers that you require, but behind your back, he's up to mischief. So what if I told you, Your Royal Highness, that this rabbi doesn't really show you the respect that you think he does? Oh, well, it's an unlikely story, Mr. Prime Minister. You see, he's always so polite, and it's impossible to just pretend to be nice in that way. He's a natural, it's genuine. Or is it genuine? I think in this country we say genuine. Your Royal Highness, I do apologize once again, but I beg to differ. And if I can prove that actually he is not such a nice guy, well, that would be my duty as your prime minister. I'd be absolutely horrified, shocked, and blown away. But what is it? I'm so upset, I'm losing my words. What is it that you propose, Prime Minister? What do you think can be done to prove to me that you are right and that I am not aware of the truth? Well, Your Royal Highness, you might be aware that the Jewish people have one of their festivals coming up. The festival of Pesach, or is it how do you read this? How do you pronounce it? I always stumble. Pesach? Do you mean Pesach, Prime Minister? Yes, that's the one. Pesach. It's coming up very soon, in a few days. And as you know, Prime Minister, because you can actually get the word Pesach out your mouth, you must be familiar with the traditions of this festival. The Jewish people drink wine at their Seder, the Pesach Seder, on the first night and second night. Yes, I am well aware, but get on with it, Prime Minister. Please do tell me, what is it that you have in mind, and how does it connect to the rabbi of the community? Well, you see, Your Royal Highness, just remember what I'm thinking about. Yes. The rabbi, before he goes to have a Pesach Seder in his own home with his family, always goes to the guest house where he welcomes some travelers, people who are on the road and needy. They don't have a place of their own. They're not invited as guests somewhere else. The rabbi makes a communal Seder for them in the guest house. Now, what if you and I, Your Royal Highness, you see where I'm coming from? What if you and I, oh, do get on with it, Prime Minister. Your ideas must be succinct and crisp. Come on, tell me, what are you thinking? Well, what if you and I dress in rags? We will look like poor people who are just traveling through the town. We will sit in the guest house together with the other people at the Seder, and we will see what happens. Now, before this Seder, you must tell the rabbi that no one in the town, none of the Jewish people having their Seder, will be allowed to drink wine. Forbid them to drink wine. Then, while we are sitting at the Seder in the guest house, we will be able to see if the rabbi obeys your command. If he does, well, he won't. And if he doesn't, you'll be able to trust me forever. No more elections. You can just appoint me as your Prime Minister from now until the end of time. What do you say to that? Hurrah, 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 hurrah. Don't get carried away, Prime Minister. I am pensive about your suggestion. Okay. I will call the rabbi and tell him there is a decree that no Jewish person is to drink wine at the Pesach Seder this year. Then you and I, as you say, I don't like the idea, but okay, we will get into some rags. We will attend the Seder at the guest house and we will see. But let me tell you, no, let me warn you, Prime Minister. If you are fooling about, it will be off with your head. Don't you dare try and pretend this rabbi is no good when really I believe he is, in his heart, in his mind, in his word, and in his deed. Do you understand me? Yes, I understand you, but it will be my head or his, and I think, well, you know what I think. Well, the king walked out of the meeting and summoned the rabbi. Hello, my dear friend, Rabbi. I want to wish you a wonderful, wonderful festival of Pesach. But there is something I must tell you. And in order to tell it to you, I bend over slightly because it makes me most sad, but it is something I cannot keep in. Don't worry, dear king, whatever you tell me will be okay and if it is your command, we will obey. Oh, that's very, very kind of you, Rabbi. Unfortunately, I must tell you that this year, at your Pesach Sedarim, on both night number 1 and night number 2, no one may drink wine. It's just a decree that I must pass. And if I catch anyone drinking wine, if news reaches me that even one person has disobeyed this decree, the penalty, the punishment will be death. Do you understand, Rabbi? I do apologize, but this is what must be done. I do, Your Royal Highness. I am saddened by this information. I am disappointed, but that is how it shall be. And with that, the rabbi walked out of the palace and made an announcement at the shul with the ark, the Aron HaKodesh, behind him. At an emergency meeting for the entire community, he said, Rabotai, I am very sad to announce, but I have to, that this Pesach, no one may drink wine at the Seder. This is a decree from the King, His Royal Highness. I don't know why, but surely it is not only from him, but from God on high. Melech Malchei Hamlachim, the ultimate, true King of Kings. And if this is what we must do, then let us obey. Please, everyone, take this seriously, because the punishment is death. Wow, the Jewish people were absolutely shocked. They couldn't have imagined this in their wildest dreams, that on Erev Pesach, the rabbi would call them to the shul and give them this news, make such an announcement. That night, just as the Prime Minister had expected, before sitting down at his own Seder with his own family at home, the rabbi went to the guest house to welcome the travelers and the needy people who didn't have another place to go for their Seder. He wanted to welcome everyone. So generous he was. As the rabbi walked into the guest house, he said, Chag Sameach, Good Yom Tov, please feel at home. We are now going to enjoy what I hope will be the best Seder you have ever had. Consider this your family. Let's go. But just before we begin, may I remind you that the beautiful Pesach plates with maror and the egg and the zeroah and everything, the matzah, the wine, the kiddush cups, it's majestic, it's beautiful, it's uplifting, it's such a blessing. But may I remind you that we may not touch the wine this evening, we can only look at it. And so when it gets to the point where we would lift our cup of wine and make the blessing 4 times, starting with Kiddush and then the other 3 occasions where we drink a cup of wine, we will still lift the cup, but it will be empty by decree of the King. The King and the Prime Minister were disguised, sitting at the table with all the other visitors. No one would have known they were there. And as the night went on and they reached the points in the Seder where the cup of wine was lifted, the cup was raised in the air, but the wine remained in the bottles on the table. The King had the most amazing time. He wasn't wearing his crown. No one would have recognized him. But whenever it came to the songs, he was singing away, die, die, no, die, die, no, die, die, no. Let's sing it all again. And then he had a little piece of morrow. Not sure about that, but he loved loved the other things. The matzah was so crunchy. The charoset was sweet. He was having a whale of a time. Everyone was enjoying themselves. The rabbi was in his element. He was jumping up and down. He was sharing beautiful ideas, deep insights about the Pesach story. There was only one person who looked glum, and that was the disguised prime minister, because things were not going to plan for him. At the end of the Seder, everyone got up and danced. L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, oh, 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 b'Yerushalayim. L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim, oh, 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 shana haba. And once again, the king, dressed up as a poor person, was dancing around. The rabbi was in the middle of the circle, spinning this way and that. All the people were so joyous. And the prime minister stood there like this. I don't like to dance, he said, but I'll watch you, if that's all right. Meanwhile, you can imagine, he was so worried. When they left, the king and the prime minister walked back to the palace in silence. At the palace gates, the king turned to his prime minister and said, well, that was a pleasant evening, wasn't it? You will meet me tomorrow at these gates at 3 o'clock. Don't be late. Yes, you royal, I'm sorry, matzah stuck in the throat. Royal Highness, I'll see you then. 2:30. I won't be late. Don't bother to come at 2:30. Rather be punctual at 3. No one will want to greet you earlier than that. And then he took off his crown. And because he was such a respectful person, he went like that to the prime minister. Prime minister went home. The king went into the palace. And the king sent a message the next morning, on the first day of Pesach, asking the rabbi to walk to the palace and to meet at the gates at 3 o'clock. Well, 3 o'clock came, and there were 2 people standing at the palace gates. One was wearing this hat with a face like this. Can you make that face? And the other was wearing this hat with a face like this. How about that face? Can you do it? Both the prime minister and the rabbi walked inside, and the king was sitting on his throne. Thank you so much for coming to visit me on this first day of Pesach. Chag Sameach, Rabbi. Unbeknown to you, there were 2 guests at your Seder last night who you may not have recognized. We just kind of fitted in with the crowd. We slotted in with ease. But actually, one of them was me, and the other was him. And the king pointed to the prime minister, shaking his crown, repositioning it, and making sure that he was ready to deliver the next piece of news. The king looked at the rabbi and said, this prime minister has tried to destroy you and the Jewish community. He lied about you. He told me that you were actually deceitful, that you were not always truthful about your friendship with me, and that behind my back, you disrespected me and you wouldn't obey my command. But I gave you a command. I gave you a command not to drink wine and to tell all the Jewish people to do the same. And when I attended your Seder last night, I see that is exactly what you did. You have really touched my heart. And as for him, he has no further role to play in this country. In fact, it's his head versus yours. Yours is to stay. His is to go. I hand him over to you, Rabbi. You can choose exactly how he is to die, how he is to be punished. Oh, Your Royal Highness, thank you for your good wishes for Chag Sameach. I wish you all the very best too, Mr. Prime Minister. And the Rabbi also was so respectful. You'll forgive me if I'm just trying to catch my breath after hearing this surprising news. I'm grateful to you, Your Majesty. Unfortunately, since we lost our temple in Jerusalem, no Jewish court has been authorized to issue the death sentence, and therefore it is not within my power. I am not able to sentence the Prime Minister to death. I leave him to you. You must decide what happens next. If that's the case, then don't get out of here. I don't want to see you again, Mr. Prime Minister. Disappear. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh, I'm going. Oh, thank you. It was a great work. It was wonderful working for you, Prime Minister. The King. I'm the Prime Minister. Well, I was the Prime Minister. Now I'm not the Prime Minister. Hope you don't mind if I take my microphone. Oh no, okay. I won't. I don't want to annoy you. I'll leave it here. Goodbye. Let me out of here. Open the gates. Goodbye, guards. You're not going to see me again. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, that's him gone. Indeed, he's run as fast as his feet could carry him. And as for you, my dear friend, the rabbi of the Jewish community, thank you for restoring my faith in you. In fact, I never lost that faith, but you've deepened it. You've made me realize the power of loyalty. You are so good to me, even when it was difficult for you, even when it was my command versus God's. You listened to me. Your Majesty, yes, you see, actually we were also listening to God because in Judaism we believe that most important of all is the value of life. And therefore we would not put our own lives at risk for the sake of another mitzvah, for the sake of the mitzvah of drinking wine at the Seder. Of course we were disappointed. Of course we would always want to drink wine at the Pesach Seder. But if we're going to die on account of that, it wouldn't make sense. That's not the Jewish way. So we obeyed you, and through your command, we obeyed God, our God, who tells us to live, to enjoy the mitzvot, to really feel uplifted through serving him. Rabbi, tonight at your second Seder, you will all drink wine. The decree is removed and safety has returned to this town. The Prime Minister has gone. The Jewish people will not only celebrate tonight, but celebrate always and forever. Be safe. Please pass on that message to your entire community. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Your Royal Highness. I will go back now and tell them that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Chag Sameach. I'd love to come to the Seder again, but I'm still getting over that matzah. Oh, yes. Maybe next year, and there'll be wine too. Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Thank you, Your Majesty. Goodbye. And with that, the rabbi went back to the town and made an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening we will be able to drink wine. Chag Sameach, enjoy your Seder. And thank God, this is a miraculous outcome. And so, at the Seder that night, with the men wearing their kippot and the women wearing their beautiful clothes and hairbands, everyone sat around the Seder and drank the wine, together with eating the matzah and everything else, telling the story about the Exodus from Egypt, Yetziat Mitzrayim. But not only did they celebrate that incredible miracle, they also celebrated the miracle that had occurred right in front of their very eyes that year in their town. They were allowed to drink wine again at the Seder, and the evil, wicked prime minister had been removed from his post. Isn't that a great story? And you know, I was thinking that this year has been quite tough for all of us. Sometimes it may have felt that our cup of wine wasn't always full. Sometimes the cup was just a cup without any wine in it at all, whether it's literally wine or grape juice or a cup of blessing. It didn't always feel full. But hey, now it's Yom Tov, it's Pesach, it's the festival of freedom, freedom for our people and freedom within, a time when we can put a smile on our face and share that smile with everyone else. And do you know, as we have smiles on our faces, we can think of that beautiful song which reminds us that even though in every generation there are people who may stand up to hurt the Jews, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matzileinu mi'adam, God always helps to save us from their hands. Shall we sing it together? V'hi sha'amda? Let's do it, and with this we'll finish bouncing into your Shabbat and Pesach Sedarim following Shabbat, always with joy, faith, and togetherness. That's what makes us tick. And of course, the music within. Let's do it. V'hi she'amda lavoteinu, v'hi she'amda lavoteinu v'lanu, shelo echad bilvad, umad aleinu lachaloteinu, umad aleinu lachaloteinu. Sing it together. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matzileinu. Come on, Your Royal Highness. Matzileinu mi'adam. Do you want to turn Prime Minister? All right, you're a nice guy out of the story. You were just an actor. No one be scared of the Prime Minister. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matzileinu mi'adam. Come on, Rabbi, take a bow. Na 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 na. Dee dee da 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 da. Dee dee do 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 do. Do 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 do. Matzileinu miyadam. Chag Sameach. Chag Kasher v'Sameach to all of you and your families. See you again soon. Rabbi Eli, signing off.